In 2020, 1 in 6 children in England were adopted by same-sex couples. My name is Dr. Lucy Kelsall-Knight. I'm a lecturer in children's nursing at the University of Birmingham, and I've undertaken research as part of my doctoral qualification that looks at the experiences of lesbian parents accessing healthcare for their adopted children in England. I chose this subject as my doctoral study because I'm in a same-sex marriage and because I also have adopted children. The study was really interesting and showed that when lesbian parents were accessing healthcare for their adopted children in England, there was issues whereby they had to navigate heteronormativity in healthcare. There were differences in how they were acknowledged in documentation. For example, mother and father were asked for. There was also issues with reflective imagery, not just in the paperwork, but also on posters around them. And there was also a lack of understanding of the adoption process in England and what that meant with regards to parental responsibility, and also the information that was known to parents about the history of the child. Now, as part of the doctoral study, I also decided, in order to tell the story of the participants, I decided to create a fictional family. This then became the vehicle to tell the story of what occurred, but I also thought that I wanted to be a little bit more creative and take it one step further. So I decided to turn the fictional family into a character family also within a children's book. Now, storytelling is really important to me, as not only am I a parent, and therefore I help my children make sense of the world around them by telling them stories and reading books to them, but I'm also a children's nurse, and we use storytelling when helping children and their families in healthcare to make sense of what's happening in that given situation, for example, going for an operation. So having storytelling is a really important part of my life, both personally and professionally. But I was also aware that because of my own children accessing healthcare, that there wasn't a story, a picture book that depicted going into healthcare as a child when you've got same-sex parents. Now, there are lots of diverse books on the market whereby they show different family makeups, but there wasn't one that specifically showed same-sex parents accessing healthcare with their children. So I wanted to change that so that largely my children also saw their own reflection. Now, this book is a really simple story, but the magic comes alive when you get to see children see themselves reflected in the book. So not only can it be used by families to show their children what could happen in healthcare, and it's a positive book, so there isn't any negativity of any of the challenges that same-sex parents had as part of my research. It's purely a happy book showing what should happen when you go to a hospital appointment. So it can be used by families, but it can also be used by schools, so educational settings, to show diverse families to children. It can also be used in training healthcare professionals as this educational tool, so that children and their families are depicted within the mainstream media of children's books as well. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about my book, which is called Courtney Goes to the Hospital. And if you've got any queries or want to know anything else, then please let me know. Thank you very much for listening.